go, oh, we've got a solution. And that solution will be, you'll eat bugs and be happy.
Yeah.
Right? So, what I would like to see, and I guess this is kind of my, if I put most of my life, as much as the farming, I've been a greengrocer all my life. So for me, I'm a fruiterer trained, professionally trained fruiterer. So for me, we need to get the public to understand, those who want to understand, our generation, what they can do about stopping this in its tracks. Yeah. Right? Now, for me, the biggest thing that the public can do to stop this is stop fucking well supporting supermarkets. Yeah. Because they have done more damage to the farming community than the government will ever try to do.
Right, just to make sure I'm going to emphasise this, right? After the Second World War, we see the proliferation of supermarkets to destroy England, right? People need to understand that we did not win the war. We lost the war because we fought against the Soviet Union and then sided with them, right? So at first we was against them, then we was with them, but the Soviet Union are communist, right? And people need to understand there is a difference. I am not suggesting in any way that the Nazis, right, as they was known, they're both groups of socialists.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But siding with the actual communists to beat the Nazis, right? You sided with the bigger enemy, right?
Yeah.
And people don't realise that the communists are the ones who starved people, a lot more people, and the Nazis were technically against communism, right? So again, I'm not suggesting, again, I'm quite outspoken about this. I'm not saying Hitler was an angel, nor was Churchill, nor was Stalin, nor was any of them, right? What I'm trying to do is point out that the strategy of what's going on now is communist in nature, and it stems, and the European Union is communist in nature, not Nazi. The WEF is communist in nature,
Absolutely.
not Nazi. And it all goes back to another group of people, which are called the Fabian Society and the International Fabians, right? And when people understand that this is a plan, and when you look back strategically at what they've done, so one of the things that I do, that you'll probably be aware of, is the common law constitution and the constitution of England.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things I do with that is reverse engineer and look at strategically what they had to put in place to achieve their goals, right? And that's why they don't like me, right? Because what I do is actually show through history what they've done. So getting back to you being a fruiteer, I knew fruiteers and greengrocers when I was younger. It was a proper trade.
Absolutely.
It was part of retailing, but it was an extension of farming, right? Yeah. Because you had to know your produce, how it was produced, you know, how it had to be stored, whether it was going to go off and you was going to lose money. It was a highly skilled job, right? Yeah. So again, we need to show people or tell people why this is so important, and again, so it's taking it straight back. Just a little bit of illustration on that. Supermarkets, taken away from the high street, shutting down the high street. Government then created, and it's all linked, right? And everyone needs to understand that, council tax. The council tax is linked to shutting down the high street because they shut down, what they've done, the central government, communism, took all the money from the local communities, from the local councils and the business rates. That meant that the councils had to raise money in another way. So the government authorised something which is technically illegal, which is council tax. Then they started creating situations where people had to pay to be in the high street, and it drew people out of the high street, started to destroy the high street, started to destroy the pubs and the communities. That is all communism.
And it's all very much part of breaking that community, and not just. And I did a talk last night with a church group, and one of the things I was saying on there was that this has been about breaking religion. Yeah. It doesn't matter what religion. I don't care what religion. It's about breaking religion. Yeah. And that is about breaking people's belief. Yeah. Right, so we're breaking the family, the family union, we're breaking the community spirit. So this is all about everything, and at the centre of all of these things is a supermarket. and I don't care what anybody
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
So if you look at the control they've now got, you know, when we've gone from having, I don't know, let's say 100 small businesses in an area,
Yeah.
and we've got, you know, whether that's the guy who cuts keys, you know, the guy who does engraving on jewellery, the guy who's the greengrocer, the butcher, the baker, the councilman, the fishmonger, everybody else, the grocer, whatever it was, and you'd have all these little shops all over the place. They've desecrated that.
Yeah. All independent businesses.
All independent.
Independent of the state, which is another reason why they don't like
Well,
trades.
they don't like them.
Right? And that's why Tony Blair and the Labour Party, and the Labour Party was created by the Fabian Society. Who funded the Fabian Society? The Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Right? So when you start to look at the strategic plan that they put in place, which is communism, right? It's been going on for well centuries, right? And it is a multi-generational plan. And one of the things, not Karl Marx, but Engels said, right, was that every communist revolution has been shipwrecked on the rock of England.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he say that?
Mm-hmm.
Why did he say England? And it's because of our common law jurisdiction. So when people call me a communist, I laugh at them. Then they call me a Nazi, and I equally laugh at them. I said, I'm not a Nazi and I'm not a communist.
Yeah.
I am an Englishman,
Yeah.
and we do not believe in authoritarian control. We never have done. We have rebelled against it throughout our history, including the Peasants' Revolt. All the way through history, it's the English that have stood up against tyranny. Right? So, and again, even if you look at the revolution in America, it was the Englishmen that stood up against the British. Right? So, getting back to the supermarkets, I agree with you entirely. They are the nuclei, or the nucleus, of the strategy to destroy England. The food chain is important because part of the communist system is to starve you to death, right? And people need to understand it is a lot cheaper for the state, right, to starve you to death rather than execute you or do any of them things that people think that they do in the background. That by far the greatest killer in the world has been starvation under communist regimes.
Well, the great thing about starvation is that within a day or two of people not being fed, they'll turn on each other.
Exactly.
And that's what they want.
Exactly.
That's how you get rid of a lot of people.
Right, so again, I'm going to go back to this because strategically it's very important, and you are absolutely right that the core or nuclei of that strategy is supermarkets. You've only got to go and have a look at the supermarket chains and see who owns them and operates and runs them in the background, right? People need to understand something, right? You can't do that. So there is something in the supply chain. So bearing in mind, my background is system engineering, right? So I look at the system. It doesn't matter what system it is. I will look at the system. And no, I haven't been trained by a university, right? We've been in the company, or some people have been university degrees, etc. Most people who know me, the first thing I say is I don't like people with university degrees, right? Because their minds have been trained in a certain way. And unless they are free-minded people and free-thinking people, they don't get what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, and anyone can regurgitate the state and get a 1-1, right? If it was me and I was taking on people and they had to have a degree, I'd be looking at the ones with the 2 1s, not the 1 1.
I was going to say, I'd be looking at someone who's dyslexic or autistic.
Exactly.
Every time, because they're free thinkers.
so the free thinker, and generally speaking, plumbers, electricians, trades, they're all people who go out and earn a living themselves. So I just want to make sure everyone understands what we're talking about here with the supermarkets and why it's important. Go back to the way England used to do it, right? And we can go back to that system, right?